broadcasting live from the fabulously fluoridated capital of Auckland, New Zealand, the island change nation in the sunny slave South Pacific, which just recently has had ridiculously massive rainstorms and has washed out roads all over the far north of New Zealand. Thank goodness for that, because, you know, how else would we get coverage of the far north of New Zealand unless there was some kind of description of massive disaster? And in fact, I was watching the news, both Al Jazeera and New Zealand local news this morning before coming on the show. And something occurred to me. Each news section was about between 20 and 40 seconds long, and each and every single one of them involved death, destruction, mistrust, theft, war, horror, and terror, and various other forms of scumbaggery. And none of them, and I'm going to say this operatively, were relevant to anybody who wasn't said person getting killed. But, you know, it becomes relevant, of course, because as soon as you start putting up death, murder, and destruction and terrible, horrific, psychopathic scumbaggery on the tube every day long, you know, everybody suddenly starts to think it actually has some relevance, when it doesn't. Every time you're watching the media. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to make your life irrelevant. And I don't think this is a brilliant idea in the least. So anyway, call-in number, ladies and gentlemen. Please call in today, because we're going to have a nice rip-roaring discussion about whatever, you know, general format of the show. Call-in number is 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. My guest today for the full 2 hours, taking your calls as well, is the wonderful, the fabulous, and I wouldn't call him risque, but he's got a guitar, so I call him Busque. It's Santos Bonacci. Welcome to the show.
Busque. Thanks, Vinny. Pleasure to be on with you.
Hey, can you fire out your websites and those who might not be familiar, just give them a wee bit of a background intro about yourself, Santo?
Oh, yes, that'll be a pleasure. UniversalTruthSchool.com is my website, which links up to all my other things, like my music site, my YouTube handle, which is Mr. Astrotheology, and also in that YouTube site there is a whole mess of videos from other people, astrotheologists, scientists, and all sorts of good. I've collected some of the best short 5-10 minute videos. Some are even longer, just for people who really want to quickly get in the know about what's going on. And you've got everything there. There's videos about fluoride in the water, there's vaccinations, there's videos about anything. All subjects to open one's eyes to seeing what's going on. And in particular, my 12 presentations, which have a lot of research and evidence and proofs in there, which expose mostly the religious structures of the earth, the governmental structures of the earth, and the institutions that teach false science, and etc. So I'm going after those three biggies and exposing the fictions there because I think they're the most, you know, they're the most profound and the most influential in our daily lives. So I've gone after those in my presentations, hence the astrotheology and the science and all of that.
Yeah. Well, we seem to be influenced in every way in all of our daily lives from some conspiracy or another, whether that be the fluoride in the water or whatever, right? And I've come to the conclusion that, man, it actually really does take a hell of a long time to wake yourself up to all of this stuff. It's not like 6 months down the track after first learning 9/11 was an inside job, you suddenly know everything about everything. You might have a clue about it, but it can take up your entire lifetime researching into this stuff.
Yes, my friend. And what people really would benefit themselves to have is a good foundation of thorough researched knowledge. You see, I'm very fortunate because I laid my foundation when I was a young teenager. I was always interested in knowledge and how things work and everything. I got my telescopes out, worked out how all these stars work. I bought my a library full of books, history, science, everything like that. Because I left school. I left school at 15. I was out of there. I was out of there. I hated school. My son did the same thing. 15, he was out of there. We are both of the same mind. It was a waste of time. It was. I could see it for what it was. Indoctrination. It was filthy, dirty, rotten, dumbing down. And out I was. I went and got myself all these books, and I read and I read and I read. I taught myself music. I taught myself languages. I now speak 6 languages, and I've got 7 and 8, sort of working on. Of course, I've had a profession with music all my life. I've played music. That's all self-taught. And I was reading Immanuel Velikovsky in 83 when I was 20 years old. And that opened my mind. Although I chose to be a Jehovah's Witness for 20 years after that, and I've been a very faithful and loyal Jehovah's Witness, knocking on people's doors, serving where the need is great. I moved from the country to Melbourne to serve in Portuguese, Italian, Spanish-speaking congregations due to having, knowing those languages. I often went out to the centre of Australia to preach to the Aboriginals, to some of these. In northern South Australia, there's a couple of towns that have never been preached to before. Freegon, Ernabella, Mimili, all those little towns there. I went there for the first time in the 80s, to preach to them and save them. And I've been active, And the good thing about that is that I was able to read the Bible over and over again and master that book, because I always thought to myself, one day I'm going to understand what this book's all about, because it's not what it pretends to be or what it's painted out to be by the institutions. They've got no idea. I knew that. And now I am, in fact, teaching that because I discovered what the Bible is through perseverance, through a lot of sweat and study. But I've discovered that it is a treatise, a scientific treatise, dealing with the human body, the great creation of the human body, and how, as we improve the substance of our life, the actions in our life, and everything like that, we are actually becoming one of those heroes that is mentioned in the Bible, like a Samson or a Jesus or the Apostle John. All of these guys, it's all you. It's all talking about you and how you can become a Jesus. In other words, an enlightened person. You see? And the Holy Land, I discovered, is in the body, as it is upstairs in the ecliptic of the path of the sun, and all of those asterisms and constellations upstairs. There are 48 constellations. All of those fit nicely in your body, starting from Aries in the head, going to Pisces to the feet. Now, this is the science of all science. It's the mother of sciences, and it's in the Bible. Astrology, astrotheology, physiology, the whole lot. And it's all veiled, and there it is for humanity to see, or, of course, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, because the rest think they know that book, but they do not.
Hey, and I was wondering, something that Jordan Maxwell told me last week, Santa, and I did want to get your take on this. He said that this kind of world of the occult and mysticism and all of that kind of stuff, he says you do get what you pay for, but that ultimately means that you don't really get anything out of it. Do you feel that that's something you can agree with? Like it really does kind of consume you, take up an awful lot of your time, and you wind up with only knowledge to show for it and not much more.
Oh, the knowledge of esoteric wisdom is extremely beneficial to the transmutation and the apotheosis, which means like the metamorphosis. It's crucial to know the science of as above and as below. That's what true esoteric schools are all about. The theocratic schools who are all about control and monotheism, they are the ones that are teaching the exoteric version. You see, the Bible is a two-edged sword. It has exoteric and esoteric wisdom in it, outer and inner. Usually, people who have not got a good spiritual evolution and soul evolution cannot grasp that there is an esoteric truth there. So they dabble in symbolism. You know, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, they interpreted the Bible literally, but some of the scriptures were symbolical, you see. Oh, no, brothers, this is symbolical. This is symbolism here. Over there it's literal, over here it's symbol, you see. That's their way of admitting that the whole Bible, all of it, is symbolical. And that's their sort of legal out, because it's obvious. It sticks out like dog's genitalia. You know, the Bible is full of spiritual drama, just like Shakespeare and all of that. I say that it's very beneficial. I don't know whether Jordan's talking about the theocratic mystery schools, which are a waste of time, but the true mystery school, like the Pythagorean and the Orphic and the Delphic, these were schools of pure wisdom, science, astrotheology.
He was more referring to the consequence of finding out things to which you're not supposed to know.
Yeah. Well, there are things that you're not supposed to know in terms of things that will advance your spirituality, and they are the things that I'm teaching. And then there are things that you're not meant to know that are sort of like a diversion. Most of your Freemasons out there, Vinny, they haven't got an idea themselves. They're supposed to know. Freemasonry is supposed to be an organisation where people have, where the members have, vows of silence, because they're supposed to know such beautiful truths that it would be a shame to give those pearls to swine. You see, do not cast your pearls before swine. But the things that they are told, you see, they're compartmentalised too. They've got their degrees, first degree, second degree. Those boys at the bottom, unfortunately, they're about as ignorant of spiritual truths, electromagnetic truths, that is, as your average churchgoer. But it's only the ones who get in the very, 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 very high degrees that know the same stuff that I'm sharing. That's the sad thing. They're supposed to have secrets and they're supposed to know certain things, but they don't.
Well, this is the part of compartmentalization that I find has been very interesting, is that you can have large quantities of people who share a piece of a pie, and only a very small amount of the people within that group who have the bulk of the pie under their belt, and nobody else is even aware of the existence of a pie at all.
Yeah. When you talk about the birds and the bees to your 2-year-old child, it's different to the conversation about the birds and the bees that you have with your 10-year-old child. And it's different to the conversation that you have with your now 13, perhaps 14-year-old that's becoming, experiencing puberty and all of that, all of those changes. So you have to tailor-make your message, otherwise you'll destroy their confidence and faith, and you'll download them with information that'll just sort of shatter them, even though the birds and the bees is a great subject, but you have to tailor it to the mind and how it will receive it. Now, unfortunately, the churches really, really do. The attitude of the controllers and the governing bodies of these 30,000 odd registered Christian churches, their attitude is that the dumb people that come to church, they're not ready for the truth and they can't handle the truth. And I'm talking about the ones that know, that really, really know that the Bible is just a book about astrotheology. and Jesus really did not exist. Yeah, there may have been a prophet called Yeshua or two, but as for Jesus, Redeemer, Vicarious Saviour, that didn't happen. And that's absolutely provable. It has been proved by thousands upon thousands of writers, of which I have most of their books and have read. Whereas the people who tell you, oh, no, Jesus, no, they haven't read a book. They haven't read anything. They haven't studied anything. They just take things at face value and what they're taught. So the attitude of these controllers is that the people deserve the exoteric rubbish that they get. You know, it's like you tell your children about Santa Claus and then you tell them that it's not true. It's not literal. Santa Claus does not...
I lied to you, but you deceived yourself. It's kind of like putting the blame on somebody else for not knowing the truth about the lie that you told them. I think that's very disingenuous. You know? We have a caller on the line here, Jason in Santa Rosa. We'll come to you after the break. And please, if you are wanting to call in, have a chat with Santos tonight. The number is 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. Santos Bonacci is my guest from UniversalTruthSchool.com. And we have Jason in Santa Rosa holding on after the break. We'll come to you when we come back in a second at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Do you realize every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models, a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com.
Will ejected if I start getting intellectual. I am not yet credible, so until I can say I'm credible, I'll say that I'm incredible.
Welcome back to the show that's all about cannibalism and the edible extraterrestrial American Freedom Radio. Going out on AM, FM, terrestrial radio stations that are controlled by aliens with glowing fingers that say, ouch. Yeah. My very special guest is Santos Bonacci. And Jason in Santa Rosa, been holding for about 8 minutes there. Welcome to the program.
Oh.
Jason, you're on the air, man. You're kind of breaking up like badly put together Lego.
A little bit. It's a little poppy on. I was just wondering if Joseph asked.
No, sorry, Jason. We're really not getting you there. You might have to hang up and ring back there, Jason. Okay, because your connection's pretty terrible. All right. Well, anyway, back to what we were talking about earlier. The benefits of esoteric knowledge, and this is something that Jordan was telling me about. You know, if you're going out to a party or something like that, even if people are really, really wasted. You could talk to them about all this esoteric stuff and they'll listen to you for a short period of time before they start thinking to themselves, you know what, this person's actually just a little bit, this person's going on and on about it and it's getting a little boring and it's getting a little bit crazy, that kind of thing. So in that kind of social situation, esoteric knowledge is remarkably unbeneficial. It actually kind of ostracizes you from people because they're not actually prepared for it. And I believe that this is one of the reasons why Masons and Rosicrucians, other people who belong to various secret orders, don't talk about the fact that they belong to these secret orders and don't talk about the secret esoteric knowledge that they've been given. Not just because, you know, it's secret, they're not supposed to tell anybody, but because they would actually receive very little benefit, if any, from telling everybody. And they get discriminated against. You know, and that's what happens when you learn all this stuff.
Spot on. That's spot on. Unfortunately, it is. Sometimes I see the ostracism. I see people laughing at me as they walk away, or as they approach and they think, oh, here's this nutcase Santos, all these conspiracy theories and all this weird astro stuff he talks about. Even so-called intelligent people with all their education and everything like that, they still don't get it, and they don't want to. They're quite happy to keep their head in the sand, I think. But, yep, true, there is that side. There is definitely that side. But then again, you look at Jordan Maxwell and his legacy that he's left behind. I'm one of his students. I've consumed everything he's ever done. I've got all these radio archives from She Who Remembers. I got all those archives from the She Who Remembers series back in California. And I purchased those. I put them on an iPod for my family, all my family. My brother, he just goes around, driving around, listening to Jordan Maxwell all the time. My mother, great fan. My son, we're all, students of his. So he's got a legacy. He might have a lot of people that laugh at him, but those people that laugh at him, they laugh at anything because they don't understand anything. But the ones that do understand all things, they will be, praising that man and that individual, and they will be appreciating everything that he ever taught. So there you go.
Okay, I'm back. Randomly, Skype just shut itself down on me. So that's weird. Anyway, going to our callers now, we have the Greek on the line. Greek, welcome to the program, bro.
Greetings, everyone, and I guess Kalimera in Australia. Perhaps it's early in the morning in New Zealand as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 11:27 a.m. at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, again, I think I've spoken to Santos once. We had a Skype a while back when I sent you an email, and I just wanted to maybe interject some information. The Bible is so interesting that it's one of the only sources of information that is very heavily laced with code, but it actually reveals the code and the information at the same time. That's why you have to go to it as a child, because anything that is taught up to, let's say, an adult schooling takes you away from that state of mind. The highest forms of science, the highest forms of mathematics are all in what they call the Bible. Of course, if you've done your homework and gotten away from those nasty English translations and done some studies in other languages, you will see that. For example, the water. Everyone is concerned about water. We look in the Bible, all the waters are above. So everyone's concerned about water down in the ground when we have storehouses of water in the sky, known as rain. And the rain is controlled by the ether. And the ether is a substance that is ignored by science. And it's the only substance that goes from a low potential to a high potential. Everything else goes from high to low. And the Bible says that those who have little, it will be taken away, and those who have much will be given to. That's a lesson on the ether. And if you know that lesson, you can make rain where there's no rain, or stop the rain where there's too much rain. And we are given that power. We were given the earth to subdue it. And when you start looking at this esoteric information, you can't really teach it. You just have to wait for others to get it as well, and then come together.
That's why when I get into these kind of conversations with people, I don't claim to be an expert at any point, and it was something Jonathan Elenoff told me, who did Core of Corruption, is that when you're trying to explain to anything to anybody, that is a conspiracy of any kind, what you have to do is you have to make that person, first of all, feel stupid, and second of all, they have to see you as a teacher and want to learn, because if that person thinks that they're smart and they actually are pretty fracking stupid and they don't know nothing about what you're about to tell them, and they don't want to know, then there's no point in you even telling them, because you're not going to get anything out of the conversation, and neither are they.
Well, the other point of it might be that it's important to see them awake, because when they come, it's not necessarily teaching them and then accepting what you have to teach, let's say, because you're really imparting. It's you're waiting for them to awake to see what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, you're right.
You see, because we all have our own distinct specialty. I'd like to maybe end off with an example of the studies. The code. For example, it was said that the first will be last, the last will be first. So if you look at it very carefully, it's pretty amazing. When you go to like an office, let's say, and you sit in the waiting room, and you notice how people pick up magazines, and they always page them from the back page to the front first. And there was a magazine called Taxi, and it had two front covers because they noticed that. Do you folks remember that? You ever notice that?
Doesn't ring a cowbell for me, though.
Oh, okay. Well, you ever notice how people page the magazines from the back to the front? But okay, so the scripture, the Bible says the last will be first and the first will be last. So the last book in the Bible is Book of Revelation, which is Apocalypse, which starts with the letter A, and what they call Genesis, which is put in the front, is Bereshith in Hebrew, and that starts with the letter B. And there's another book which starts with the third letter of the alphabet, and there's another book that starts with the fifth, and so on. So if you see that code, you can actually put the books in the correct order and actually get the information out of it. And I wanted to just these are things that you basically share in private with people who are interested. But I'm doing it on the call because you don't know who's listening and who you might be planting a seed, not necessarily locally that way.
And something tells me that you might be able to answer this question for me, Greg, because I was talking to Santos about this over the break. Previously in American history, under the Constitution, your religion, for example, is completely free. You don't have to register or pay tax or anything like that. And what the U.S. Churches and various other organizations have done is they've actually registered their churches. And in so doing, they've lost their tax-free status, and now they're all basically, just like the rest of us, slaves to the state. Do you have you heard of that?
Yes, to some degree, but well, let's put it this way: no harm intended. But what level of reading comprehension are you applying when you're reading the Constitution? In the first few sentences, it says that they wanted to establish justice. Now, if you know what that word justice is, that's a religion. It's a statue of a woman blindfolded with a sword. And if you actually look at the history of Europe, they were leaving Europe because justice was destroying them, and they came over here, and it got established here. So the churches are just a side note. The Constitution basically says they can make no law regulating religion because they already established one called justice.
Interesting.
Wow.
All right.
The churches are irrelevant. A church is the cirque, which means circle, the circus, or like Cirque du Soleil, right? Circus of the Sun. And the circus has three rings. The churches have the Trinity, the three circles, right, of the Turk, or the cirque. You see, the scripture tells you to go to the light, and God the Father has no darkness in him, because darkness is a substance. So you're supposed to go to the light. So the light is paternal or male, and the mother or female is mater or matter or material. So, for example, it's a material world. So and everything is backwards. If you look in scripture, the water bearer, the women always were bearing water to feed the animals, so the animals can drink. But in this coming age, the role is reversed, and the male becomes the water bearer because we are actually overburdened with this particular female energy. Not females, perhaps, but too much female energy. That's why people are materialistic, matter as in mother. And that's why all of the chemicals are gender-bending chemicals are estrogen-inducing. The women's lib that happened in the 60s did not help women, but it actually ruined it for women. Before the women's lib, women were able to stay at home and manage the house and the children. Now they can't. So it's not that one is better than the other, but you need a balance. And also, if you read in the Bible, it talks about there's a particular female spirit that is overcoming and making people drunk. And when you're drunk, you lose your sense of clarity. So we are going into the age of the light, which is the balancing out. And that's coming. It's where and the other witness to that is the water bear, the Aquarius, versus the woman. If you read the Bible, all throughout the Bible, it's the woman bearing the water so the animals can drink. But now it's the man's going to be doing it from the upper rooms. So it's fascinating how it's a very sophisticated message where the information and the code are given at the same time. So you have to operate on a very different level, on a very low frequency, not a high frequency, because everyone in the New Age movement is saying, go to a high frequency, high frequency. High frequency is what destroys the cells, like microwaves and radio waves are all high frequencies. The low frequencies, which are the resonance of the earth and the resonance of space, are where you want to dwell. The Om was a low frequency. So everything is backwards, and I don't know how else to say it. I don't want to take up 8 hours explaining how everything is backwards. Anyone can look at it on their own. And that's why the scripture doesn't make sense to people, because it actually acts as a mirror as well. It'll show you what you think you know, and you really don't know it at all. But if you're objective, you'll say, oh, this is a mirror. Look, it's reflecting. It's made of this, that, and the other. Let's see what it's really made of.
So it's kind of like an ancient literary form of an ink blot.
It can be.
You see what you want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is the struggle of polarities. Everything is polarity. And right now we are in the maternal, the very matter, the matter aspect. We're going to go into the light aspect. Which is the male aspect. And I'll show you how backwards things are. Blue is a female end of the spectrum, and red is the male. Pink is red with white, let's say. So they dress up all the boys in blue, which is a female color, and they dress up all the girls in pink, don't they? Which is red. Mm. So everything is backwards. Absolutely backwards. and we're going to go into it.
Yeah.
Coming soon. We have another couple of decades of this nonsense, and it is utter nonsense, and until we wake up to see that we are really gods ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. And Greg, I want to really thank you for your call, mate. We're coming to the end of the segment here. Is there anything you want to impart on us before you go? About 30 seconds.
Oh, no, I think that's it. I appreciate for the time always. Blessings to both of you. Thank you.
All right.
Hey,
cheers,
Greg, before you go, can I ask you to contact me on Skype during the week?
Oh, certainly. I'm having some computer troubles, but when I get things up and running, I'll send it to you. I think you know who I am.
Yeah, I do. And I wonder where you got to. Can you please contact me again? I'd like to talk. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Hooking people up here on the Vinny Eastwood show. After the break, we still have Brian in Wisconsin and Sid calling in from Kentucky on the line there. Greg, thank you very much for your call. Santos Bonacci from UniversalTruthSchool.com is my guest. 218-339-8525. Back in a minute. Do you realize every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models: a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. to the show that's all about being groped by the TSA. It's the Vinny Eastwood Show on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, broadcasting live from the no-fly zone. Calling in now, we have Brian from Wisconsin. You're live with Vinny Eastwood and Santos Bonacci. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Really good now that you're here, bro.
Hey, I actually am going to follow up on the first caller that called in and got kind of cut off. I did hear the first few words that he wanted to talk about, and that was Joseph Atwill. And I believe Santos knows what I'm talking about with regards to Caesar's Messiah.
Yep. I've used Joseph's material in a couple of my presentations. Joseph has exposed the fact that the Flavian dynasty, i.e. Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian, the 30 years of the last 30 years of the 1st century. This family took over from the Julian dynasty when Vespasian killed Vitellius in the year 69, and Jerusalem was destroyed around that time. The Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum, was built by Vespasian, etc. The world changed. This is the family that actually invented the historical Christ lie, together with the Julians, and then, of course, later the Constantine family in the 3rd century. But they just took advantage of the fact that the masses had lost so much consciousness that they could not understand the Gospels anymore. Therefore, they literalized it officially, that is, because there was always people who were in the outer, the exoteric people, that were taught to believe everything to be literal in the Gospels, which is great because Greg mentioned, our last caller, how it works. And I've been saying this for a long time too, that the outer exoteric teaching is for children, and it's a beautiful system. It's like the little training wheels you put on a push bike, and you train your children how to balance, and then all of a sudden you take those wheels off and off they go. And that's what it's supposed to be with Humpty Dumpty, Little Red Riding Hood, Santa Claus, the birds and the bees. You're supposed to teach people and enlighten them according to their capacity. And in the Bible, there are levels. There is so much deep wisdom in that book, and that people are missing out.
Paradise, right?
Yep. They're stuck on the first exoteric teachings. Stuck.
Could I interject for one thing? I was wondering how you could, or if you could express the ideas of how this Flavian dynasty, or the people that wrote the book, they stayed in the idea of universal honor by giving us all of the information, but leading us in a different direction, even though it was right there. Yeah,
that's it. They do, everything they do is in honor. But you see, if you give people enough information, that's then you point them to where they can get more information. People then can go and search that out for themselves, each one to his own. If you're interested in knowing, you will know. If you want to know the truth and how everything works and what have you, you will know. And that's what they're counting on, hoping that people will free themselves from the system of slavery.
But they're still giving us bread and circuses.
That's right. They're still doing the bread and circus.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad that I could bring that up, and I hope that that's what the previous caller that got cut off was trying to bring up. I'm gonna get off the line now and listen to the conversation.
All right. Thank you very much for your call, Brian. Now going to Sid in Kentucky. Sid, welcome to the program.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
Hello, my friend Vinny. Hello, my friend Santo.
Hey, Sid, how are you, mate? I recognize the voice straight away.
He has this real sweet, nice old man voice, doesn't he?
Hey, what a great conversation you two are having. You know, Vinny, I don't know how you do it day in and day out, man. You get these You get these people. Your way is to just have at it. You know, you all start your conversation. You don't know a whole lot about your guests, and my God, it's some of the best radio out there, my friend.
Well, thank you. I try.
Welcome.
But I think I put a lot less effort in than most people. You know how I get all these amazing guests, Sid?
How's that?
I get them all suggested from listeners, and I have a copy-paste email that I sent out to them saying, hey, you want to be interviewed on the Vinny Eastwood Show on American Freedom Radio? And 99% of the time, they all just go, yeah, why not?
Well, you know, I've been one of those people, Vinny. You know, I've sent you one or two. Hey, Santo, my conversation with you the other night was so awesomely good, but in the time that we had together, you were so polite to listen, and I didn't get a chance to ask you much, so listening today was a real blessing for me to hear where you were really coming from. I kind of knew it already, but it was good to hear it.
Oh, thanks, Sid. Yep.
Do you have any questions or anything, Sid?
I do. Santo earlier said that, you know, that we are God, okay? And you know, some people hear that and they want to cringe, you know. I don't want to cringe at all. We walk in his power. We walk in the power. We are the power. Okay? We are the good and we are the bad. We choose what we want to be. I don't know if I'm coming across to you guys well enough.
Yep.
Here's the deal. I was armed for years. I wasn't dangerous. I was born in Kentucky. I squirrel hunted before I could walk. I wouldn't harm a squirrel now if it was eating my vegetables. I would just plant more vegetables. I've changed. My understanding of how I needed to change was a process. Just like Santos says, you get the information as you're able to understand it and take it in, and then as you grow, you are obligated to take that information to new levels. Without my firearms, and the reason I mention my firearms is it's a good point. Without them, I've run into many people in the truth movement that, you know, are appalled. You know, what do you mean? You know, your guns? Oh my God! You know, it's the only thing that's going to stop tyranny. Oh my God! You know. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. They can't fire on you if they can't see you.
Well, conveniently, they have infrared goggles, night vision, biometric scans that they can satellite, you know, image you from space and all of that kind of stuff. So there's not a place on Earth you can hide where they can't see you. So technically, you're right, Sid.
Vinny, their power is all artificial. Okay. It's taken from the natural.
Yeah.
We control the natural.
Yeah.
I'll get off the phone and let let Santo expound. I'd like to hear what he has to say about what I've said. Bless both of you.
Thanks for your call, Sid. Okay, so can you elaborate on that, Santo?
Well, yeah. First of all, we are invisible to them. If we clothe ourselves with protection. There's so much protection. Protection comes from living in honor. Protection comes from being responsible for your own universe, because we are all that is, all that ever was, and all that ever will be. And in that sense, I say that ye are gods. Not that, you know, we claim to, no, we can claim to be all of God. We are deific units of light. We are light bodies, and God is light. Therefore, we are of God. We are God in that sense, just as 1 John 1:1 says, and the Word was God, because everything is. It's all from light. But getting back to the point about we are natural and nature, and we can't be seen by them because their authority is artificial. It's all artificial. They don a suit which looks and appears to have authority. And when a policeman, when a policeman walks around, you know that uniform gives that person certain powers and authorities. But it's artificial. It doesn't come from from God, from the universe, from the atoms, from nature. Nature is not sanctioning them at all. Nature doesn't give them anything that they are doing. They are doing this all off their own bat. They are actually renegades in natural law. These people who put uniforms on and force other people to do what their statutes say, they're actually going against universal law, and it will in the end punish them, because they also are doing things in ignorant. Because most of your policemen, a lot of them start off, they're really, really nice guys, and some of them, there's a portion that will always be nice guys who think they are doing the right thing, but they're not. It's like the churchgoers, you know. Marx said the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, it is.
Yeah, I think so. And if people out there truly believe that a cop's authority is given to him by his uniform, you know, it's pretty straightforward that it fully is, because you whip that uniform off him and you force him to go round the streets naked with nothing but a badge to cover his private parts, and you tell him to go and arrest somebody, they're going to go, no, you're a crazy naked freak. You don't have any authority over me. And that's how little real power police actually have, unless they are covered with that fake skin of blue or black with some kind of fake metallic object to represent their authority. They ain't got nothing. All the authority that they perceive and everything that they allegedly have is either locked away in that uniform or their moustache. We'll be right back after the break at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com, 218-339-8525. Do you realise every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models: a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Vinny Eastwood Show. Hour number 2, fastest 2 hours in talk radio. It's the lighter side of genocide, because in a world so full of chaos and madness, if you lose your sense of humour, you'll go friggin' nuts. Speaking of the lighter side of genocide, hilarious comment on one of my YouTube videos today. I think it was about the YouTube censorship. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, Santos, but this guy called me, what was it? A closet Zionist Jewish plant or something like that. It's just, it's like, you have a look at all my videos that I've done over the years, and it's like fiercely critical of Israel. Every single day almost I say something about it and record it and put it up online for everybody to see. But you can't convince crazy people of that, no. I love it. I absolutely love it. Because so many people accuse other people of stuff for which they have absolutely zero evidence to even think it, you know. And then people say that I don't have any credibility, right? It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Okay, you're clearly out of your mind. And that's not my fault. That's not my fault at all. That's your fault, okay? If you want to make stuff up, if you want to be opposed to reason, if you want to leave comments that are in all caps, that use swear words and such, I'm not gonna reconnect with you again, because I don't like that kind of stuff. I prefer my truthers to be reasonable, kind, have a sense of humour, and be willing to actually do some, at least a modicum of research on the things that they do and talk about before they start throwing and hurling accusations that have no basis whatsoever on everybody. And everybody in the truther movement suffers from this to lesser or greater degrees. I think it's more to the point that the bigger you get, the more of a following you get, the more people try to basically rip into you to a degree. Now, my producer and a number of people have said this to me, that when people criticize you, it's because they're jealous. Okay, it's like, I want to be there. I want to have the radio show. I want to be talking with Santos Bonacci and Jordan Maxwell and all of that kind of stuff. Who's this Vinny Eastwood character? He's just a douchebag. To hell with him. You know, I'm going to insult him and what have you. It's the same thing that happens to everybody, you know, basically. We're just working really hard over here and we're trying to get the truth out, but it's not good enough for some people. I presume you've had similar experiences, Santo.
Oh yeah, look, there's a lot of different reactions. The most, I'm pretty lucky though. I probably only get a nasty email probably once every 3 or 4 days. I'm sure others get more. I get mostly a lot of appreciative people that tell me how many dots they've connected in their lives by watching my videos. All the dots are connected. I get this weekly, on a daily basis, in fact, where people just tell me how much they appreciate that information. But the ones that are negative, they often refer to their opinions about how things are. You know, oh, well, the world knows that Jesus Christ lived because he's the most famous person. Well, I know another famous person, equally as famous as Jesus Christ, called Santa Claus, who doesn't have a real postal address either. And they're equally famous, and they're equally non-existent on the historical plane. So, you know, that's just opinions. They've been taught in school that one of those characters was historical and literal, and the other one isn't. One's for children and one's for adults. No, they're the same person. Yeah. Jesus, Santa Claus, Little Red Riding Hood. I've proven it in the videos. I've proven it. I've given scientific proofs, references beyond. But there you go. There will always be someone who cherishes their opinions more than truth, and they love to attack you based on those erroneous opinions. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a party the other night, Santa. I told you about this earlier over break, and there was this couple of people were sitting there, and she asked me about Freemasonry. So I started explaining everything that I know and think about Freemasonry, and just like, I don't know everything, you know, that kind of thing. And after we ended the conversation, like, she just kind of changed the conversation about halfway through before she reached any kind of conclusion from what I was talking about, that kind of thing. And then previously, some other person started asking me questions about other completely unrelated topics, to which she warns them, don't ask him questions because he'll just keep going on and on and on and on. When the reality is, the second she changed the topic, I'd actually start listening to her and shut my mouth because I'm not a rude person, you know?
Oh, God.
You know, it's like the people ask you a question, and then you try and answer it as completely as possible, and then they tell you that you're talking too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. Or they go and complain to someone else that you're talking about all these loony, crazy subjects, and yet when you're sitting there talking to them face to face, they're nice to you, and they're sort of, you know, conversing and agreeing and blah blah blah. Then they go away and tell someone else that you're a loony and stay away from Santos. I mean, he's crazy, you know, and it just shows that people are not what they really purport to be. What you see is what you don't get.
You know, it's like it's truth is kind of thing, and I think maybe it was a few years ago I started thinking this way, probably due to the influence of my mate Will Ryan. We just kind of like call the sheeple and the slaves, that kind of thing. It's like a sort of a condescending tone towards the bulk of humanity who aren't as up and aware or up to date with the information that we allegedly possess, kind of thing. And I decided not too long ago, actually, that this was a bad move. That thinking myself superior due to my well. You know, it's pretty obvious I know a lot more than the average person, say, on the street. But that doesn't mean I know everything.
And it's important to stay humble and to not get too full of yourself, because once you get too full of yourself, you get way too far ahead of yourself. Once you get too far ahead of yourself, you start tripping over your own tongue, your own words, your own concepts, and you turn into some form of self-obsessed douchebag who believes everything that they say, you know. And I don't believe everything that I say, you know. How could I? I don't. My like I say all the time, three favourite words: I don't know. 3 least favourite words: I don't care. Right? I'm smart enough to admit that I don't know, but I'm not callous enough to think that I don't care or will not care. You know, that kind of thing. It's all very well to know something, but if you think you know something and you're actually wrong, and you don't care about that fact, then you're going to lead yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's called opinions. They're dangerous.
I got so many opinions. I got opinions about everything, whatever. I'm starting to think of myself as some kind of I don't know. Like, have you ever met somebody who thinks they're a know-it-all, and you kind of get really annoyed with them because you can't say anything without them coming up with some kind of info background behind it or whatever. They think they know everything. I was kind of realizing, oh my God, I've started to turn into a know-it-all, and I instantly kind of like reeled back and go, oh my God, what have I done? I'm going to stop doing that all of a sudden. And the problem is, you can't stop because you do know so much.
Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. Because I do my street performances, I meet a lot of like-minded people. Most of the people who buy the CDs I'm able to talk to about astrology and astrotheology at length, because they're enlightened, you know, and they gravitate toward music. So I'm very fortunate in that every day I go to the mall, I get people who I can talk to as I sell my CDs that are on the same plane, really, and who are doing their thinking and their knowing. And so I'm pretty blessed in that when I'm at home, I'm on radio and talking about this. When I'm at work, quote unquote, when I'm at playing my guitar, I also am able to introduce people to this subject or have conversations on this subject. But I'm constantly talking about this, like yourself, you know, talking about enlightenment, really. And there's no other subject for me.
Do you think that we have that danger of becoming sort of closed-minded or somewhat obsessive with these topics that we discussed, and in so doing, we kind of begin to ignore other things that are right in front of us? Like some people, for example, and this happens relatively often as far as I've seen. Some people will become very obsessive with their particular field of conspiracy theory, whether that be 9/11 being an inside job or fluoride or all of the above, essentially. And they start locking themselves away, not liking other people, not liking social interaction, because experience tells them that as soon as they start talking about these things with others, that they start to become ridiculed, and they don't like that anymore. So instead of going out and trying to find people of like mind who won't ridicule them, they sit at home by themselves and keep filling their heads full of all of this conspiracy, and they lose touch with other people. And the time comes where they go to tell somebody else about these things that they know, and it comes out like insane ramblings because they haven't had practice in talking to people about this kind of thing. And it's kind of like it's almost like a self-imposed solitude and prison mentality, where people really do lock themselves away within themselves, and they no longer can connect with people outside.
Yep, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Get practice. Get out there and talk and reach your like-minded people.
Human beings don't survive very well when they're alone, do they? You know, we're a social creature, we're a pack creature, that kind of thing. And I think it's because a lot of people's needs get taken care of, you know, because of themselves, essentially. You know, I go out and I work and I buy my groceries, I pay my electricity and my internet bill. I don't need anybody else. I don't need anybody else. Well, who puts those groceries on the shelf for you, buddy? Who ships that gas into the gas station so you can pump your car up with it? Who, you know, we are at all times completely reliant on other people. Almost all of us. There's very few people alive today that aren't reliant on other people. And this is why I try to remain with a foot in both camps, sort of thing. Like I've got this one part of my personality which is admittedly becoming the dominant side, essentially, is the conspiracy theorist in me. You know, the one who wants to expose scumbaggery, vanquish the New World Order, wake up the masses, create a new age on Earth where nobody will be a slave and people will actually be able to have their own liberty and their freedoms outside of the threat of a criminal sociopathic group of scumbaggery, right? And then the other side of me is the fun, the party Vinny, you know, because I like to go out, I like to drink, I like to hang with people, I like to talk about stuff, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about conspiracy or anything, because there's so many things that we talk about in our daily lives that can be intensely interesting, okay, that a lot of people just choose to avoid because, it's too intense a conversation. My brain is not working this well at 2 o'clock in the morning. But ironically speaking, because I go out and I film, say, dance parties, for example, and you're with people who are most of the time intoxicated with some substance or another, you'll find that they become a hell of a lot more receptive to conspiracy theories, and you can plant seeds in their minds a lot more easily. And this is something that I found was very interesting, because it means that conspiracy theories are something about expanding your mind, expanding your consciousness, about being exposed to things that you're not, normally able to see or hear about. And when you're under the influence of substances, you know, whether I've been talking to people who are taking ecstasy or who are just drunk or stoned or whatever, they seem intensely interested, and it blows their mind when they hear it. And I'm not 100% sure whether or not they go home and start to Google and start to research and start to think about this. But the conversations that we have in the interim were very, very interesting and opening indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, calling in 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And we have a caller on the line here who is a anonymous caller. Anonymous, you're on the air. You're not going to hack us, are you?
Hi, it's
How are you?
I'm on Skype.
Yeah.
I'm good. We're finally starting to get some.
Continue. Come on. Hello? Oh, dropped off.
Wait, never mind.
Oh, there you are. You're back. Okay, cool.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I was thinking about, some of the things you've been talking about. My own spiritual path. I was raised Christian, like many people in English-speaking countries. And I broke with the church quite young, about 14, when I started to have my own experience and awakening process and forged my own spiritual path. And it occurs to me, years down the path here, that that's an incredibly brave step when you've been taught all your life that, follow what you're taught, follow what you're taught, follow what you're taught, and then you step off into the great unknown and risk a lot. If the teachings are wrong, well, the stakes are pretty high. It takes a lot of spiritual maturity and mental maturity to step off the path and go your own way and decide for yourself what's real and what's not.
Yeah. We all kind of get born into this group. We get born into this group think mentality, and it stops us in many ways from speaking out against things that we don't agree with because we're afraid that the group will come back on us. Just ostracize us, that kind of thing. And I think it does.
Not even just the group.
Sorry,
Not
what?
even just group. Like, I have a friend who's phenomenally Christian, only because she is afraid to go to hell if she's wrong. And to me, that strikes me as more dishonest than being fully Christian because you believe the teaching.
Yeah. Hey, I don't think anybody should ever be afraid of being wrong. So if you want to hold on there till after the break when we come back, you're more than welcome to continue this conversation on the other side. 218-339-8525 is the number to call. Back in a second. Do you realize every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models, a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live. And going to our callers now, we have our anonymous caller that we want to finish on up with, and after that, Tim calling in from Washington. So, anonymous caller, you're back on the air. Is there anything else you'd like to finish up?
We got cut off before the break, so let's go on to whoever's next. I'll wait patiently.
Okay. Tim in Washington, then you were on the air. Welcome back. And also, I wanted to apologize. A while back, you called in, and I didn't get to answer your call until we were like 30 seconds before the end of the show. And it really sucked because I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Hello?
Yeah, Tim, we can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm sorry, man. How you doing, man?
I'm real, well, somewhat fabulous, my standard response.
Yeah. I'm listening to Santos, I listen to his show all the time, man. He's a sharp dude, man. I learned a lot from his listen to his show. The thing is, I was talking about religion. I grew up in a religious household. Like, my father was a preacher. My family, everybody's religious, and I had to go to church pretty much several days a week. Every Wednesday Bible class, every Friday prayer meeting, every Sunday, sometimes twice a Sunday and all this. And the one thing that drove me away from the church, and I tell anybody this, was when they said that if you don't accept Jesus as your personal Savior, then you're going to hell. And they said no matter how good you are as a person, if you don't accept Jesus as your personal Savior, you're going to hell. I had a problem with that even at a young age. Even though I didn't understand the whole concept of religion, that fear tactic just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I don't like threats or ultimatums, the only person who I'll refuse to be friends with is a person who tells me who I can and can't be friends with, and I'll just be like, well, I definitely don't want to be friends with you then.
Yeah, that kind of, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I didn't have enough information that time to pretty much stand, because when I was growing up, you couldn't say what you wanted to. There was no freedom of speech, First Amendment thing. It's like your parents said something, and that was that. If you try to say anything, they consider that as talking back, and you might have got smacked in the mouth. So there was no First Amendment in my household. So you had to take everything with a grain of salt. And it's like, well, when I get older, I'm not going. You just couldn't wait to get grown so that you won't have to go to church anymore.
It's
So
like
it
being stuck in school. It's like being stuck in school, you know. I can't wait till I get older so I don't have to be in school anymore, so I can get the frack out of here and stop having to listen to these douchebags who don't know what the hell they're talking about, who can't do anything, so they start teaching everybody else how to do stuff that they don't know how to do.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of ironic that you can be grown and still have to go back to school?
Oh my god! Hey, it's like a global Billy Madison out there. It's like all of us have like grown up in this land of privilege, not needing to know anything or do anything, and then all of a sudden we realize that we're actually real fracking idiots, and we're not going to get anything unless we start going back to school and start learning again and start figuring out how to stick up for ourselves. You know, that's the kind of awakening that I see happening here. Is sort of the responsibility has shifted from other people being responsible for raising us and teaching us how to survive in this world to us recognizing that we've been lied to this entire time by those people we trusted, and now we have to forge a trust and a relationship with ourselves so that we can actually benefit from living our own lives.
Exactly. And me, I'm a musician, so my religion in my own world is music. That's the only thing I really understand. And that's the natural gift that I was given, even as a young child, was music. So I look at everybody. Everything is a program. Now, when I saw the movie The Matrix, that movie woke me up about when Morpheus was telling Neo about you're a slave, and he was telling him how the real world and how everything. That piece right there pretty much said it all to how the system works. And everything is a program. And some people are just so wired into the program, it becomes their belief system, and they will do whatever they can to protect that matrix or that system. And I have people who I talk to about certain things, and some people don't want to be woke. Some people you just can't tell them whatever their beliefs is. That's what it is. They don't want to hear nothing. They are happy with being in this ignorant bliss.
Yeah, it's like Morpheus said, you know, most people are not ready to be unplugged. And it is very much that time. And truthers, they kind of, some of them, particularly younger truthers, have only just woken up, and it fills you full of this excitement, like, wow, there's all this another amazing world of information out there. I want to spread it. I want to convince this person sitting next to me. I want to convince my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, blah, 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 blah. And they wind up running themselves ragged because they don't recognize that the key to planting a field is not to plant one seed and then sit there and yell at it and tell it to grow. It's about planting many seeds and then nurturing them over a long period of time before you can even see the start of a growth phase happening. You know, like it took me like a good 5 years. Now being a conspiracy theorist and what have you, from my brother and my mother and sisters, that kind of thing, coming from the Vinny's just stupid and he needs to mature a bit and stop believing in these crazy things, to, oh my God, almost everything Vinny's been talking about for all these years is coming true. And now they're coming up and starting to ask me questions about chemtrails, about HARP, about vaccines, you know, about pharmaceutical drugs, about Satanism, you know, these kind of things that my family would never in a million years come up to me and start talking about, you know, that kind of thing. We're always normally just used to having fun, but because I didn't push them on anything, they came to the conclusion and the truth on their own, because you can tell somebody a truth, and because it is truth, they will start to see it everywhere. It's just a question of how long they think they can ignore it for.
And that's the road I've taken, because I quit having debates with people, and I would tell people, if you really want to know, I can give you the information, and you can research it for yourself. And if you don't choose to research it, then the evidence is going to be in your face, and then a lot of people come back to me and say, you know, man, you're right, and we can expand that conversation. But if they're not willing to accept it, I'm not doing it anymore, because it's wasted energy. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. And I get frustrated, and they're like, I'm sitting there, I'm trying to push my program on somebody else. That's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Oh, you ever heard of a cartoon called Make Mine Freedom? Or I don't know if Santos Bonacci is still there. It's a cartoon that came out in 1948 called Make Mine Freedom.
No, I haven't heard of it, no.
No.
This is a deep cartoon. If you pull it up on YouTube, it was done in 1948, and it is deep. You have to see this cartoon. And I couldn't believe when I saw it a couple of years ago that this was done in the 40s. And it was kind of like these people wanted to take this ism. This guy was a salesman. He was trying to sell these people this ism. One was a farmer. I think one was a businessman. Another was like a regular worker. And they, upon drinking this ism off this bottle, that they would have to sign a contract. Then drinking the ism will provide you can have the material gain, you can have the money, the job, whatever you want. But in return, you have to sell your children's freedom and turn over your freedom and your children's freedom and your children's freedom. So basically, once you take the ism, when the government comes to take your land or take over your city, you can't protest. If you ever get a chance to check it out, it's a 9-minute cartoon, and I've been telling people about this cartoon. When they saw it, their jaw dropped to the floor, but they couldn't believe that something like this was done in the 40s.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have a name so we can get the video out and circulate it?
Oh, it's called Make Mine Freedom.
Make Mine Freedom. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and pull it up. I try to get the original 1948 version. Once you see, it's a 9-minute cartoon. Once you see the whole cartoon, it blew me away that it was done that long ago. And so it's so much information out there. It's really old. And the things we're going through now, and I'm glad, Santos, that you have this show that you break everything down to a science about symbols and rituals and everything. And this is this information that I need to know because nobody, myself, knows the origin of a lot of the symbols that we're here celebrating.
Yeah.
And we thinking these symbols are righteous and they're not. So
well,
that's all I had to say, man. I just called.
Well, I want to thank you for your call, Tim. I think what's happening is that there's actually quite a lot of old cartoons all over YouTube now that were made back around that era. Things about despotism, things about, and there's now some new things coming out where people are trying to mimic the old cartoons in order to explain people that kind of thing, like the straw man video, for example, which I thought was very interesting. Meet your straw man, and it's done like an old 1940s cartoon, except it was made only a few years ago, sort of thing, to explain the free man movement to people, explain how they're all in bondage. And of course there was the American Dream, the 30-minute cartoon that explains about the Rothschild dynasty, the Red Shield banking cartel taking over everything, and it's like, hold on a second, are we sitting here showing people cartoons like they're children to explain to them things that only adults can really comprehend? You know, is that what kind of problem we have now? Is that it's actually difficult to communicate with adults about about these kind of topics, because in reality they're not adults at all. They're still very childlike.
Yeah.
It kind of states how the dumbing down of America, where they say, well, we was reading from the King James version, they got the New International version, and I'm pretty sure they got a newer version where they have to break the language down to a 5th grade level.
Yep. Yes.
They even have
exactly what they're doing.
They even have a rap Bible. Like, honestly, they have all these versions of the Bible that are all written out. One of them's I'm sure just narrated by Snoop Dogg or something. It's just out of control out there, man.
Oh my goodness. I tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just pop culture has saved us from so much thought, and I just love it, you know.
It's all entertainment.
the thought that you opened up with, caller, I forget your name now. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, Tim. The thought that you opened up with about the preachers telling you, that you need to accept Jesus to be saved, otherwise you'll die. I mean, this is what the churches are. This is the sort of stuff grade 1, grade 2 primary school stuff that they're teaching in churches. What they should be doing is explaining what that means. What that means, Jesus Christ is the higher mind, usually associated with the right brain, where meditation happens, where you get to know who you are. Intuition is there. It's the hermetic right brain. It's the feminine side, which is connected to all of the higher senses. The left brain, which we are polarized in, that will not save you. Because the left brain is the sinning brain. It's the sinister brain, because in Latin, left means sin, sinister. So
yeah, it was a name for left-handed people back in the day. They used to be called sinister.
Yeah, and that is what the left brain is. It's the male side, which does not interest itself in getting to know who you are. It wants to know what the world out there is all about, and and material entanglements and so forth. Therefore, you will not be saved. So you must accept Jesus to be saved. And the hell that you go to is the continuing cycles of reincarnation until you learn these lessons. And when you learn these lessons, that material endeavors will never, give you back who you are, which is unconditioned consciousness, then you must accept Jesus. So you see how they've really made a mess of and run amok with all this information. They've really gone to the pits. It's the sewer where they are, with their teachings. And what happens is they divide the community by saying, yes, you must be saved by Jesus through the uniting church doctrine. No, the Catholic doctrine. And over there on the other corner, they've got the Jehovah's Witness doctrine. And so it's ridiculous. They're making fools of themselves. And as Matthew 7:21 says, they will say to me, many in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and expel demons in your name and perform many powerful works in your name? And yet I will confess to them, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. Because they deny the astrotheology in the Bible, the poetry, and how it's talking about our own beautiful evolution and transmigration. So they deny it. Therefore, they don't get the benefit of the true teaching.
And this is another thing that I feel that a lot of indoctrinating sort of cults do, is that they'll tell you something and tell you to believe it, but they won't explain it one iota, so that you will not understand it. And because you don't understand it, you can be blindly led around by somebody who wants you to serve them. You're listening to the Vinny Eastwood Show. Thanks, Tim, for your call there. And we'll be right back after the break. 218-339-8525. Join us in the chat room at the Vinny Eastwood Show. There's your last chance to call in. 218-339-8525. Do you realize every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models: a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. It's the final segment right here on the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live out on AmericanFreedomRadio.com radio network, AM/FM affiliates across America, and we also have the delayed broadcast going through iFinity FM and Rush FM here in New Zealand. And thank you very much for picking up the show there, as well as another, I think another 3 or 4 radio stations are being worked on at the moment to affiliate the show and play them late into the night, so that the Kiwi conspiracy theorists who are normally there sitting, listening late at night to scary radio broadcasts transmitted out of bunker type news organizations and whatnot, consistently getting more paranoid as the days go on, can instead listen to the Vinny Eastwood show and piss themselves laughing to sleep. It'd be great. Because, quite frankly, I'm getting really tired of sitting around and being uber serious about uber serious subjects all the time. Because it almost makes you feel inhuman to be exposed to the inhumanity that exists within our species to an extent. It's like you can't touch the darkness without keeping a souvenir to a degree. What do you think about that, Santo?
Yeah, well said, Vinny. That's a beautiful thought. It is. It's below our dignity to just stay in this world silent. Just watch it happening, and just go with the bread and circuses. You just can't do that. How do you sleep? I mean, this is the thing that caused me to be so active to try and help people all my life. For 22 years, I was knocking on people's doors because I believed I was doing the right thing as a Jehovah's Witness, teaching them how to be saved in Jesus. Now, before the break, I explained how it is that we are saved in Jesus. Now I know, through much suffering and persevering with the scriptures and trying to understand them and see what the deeper meaning is, now I know. And knowing this beautiful wisdom that is there, this Shakespearean-like, just gorgeous poetry that's in the Bible that talks about only spiritual truths, or should I say electromagnetic truths, because it's a treatise on electromagnetism. That's all it is. It's talking about how the universe gets things done. The universe goes around doing its job with electricity. And El is God. That's why they call him Elios, Elohim, El, electricity, El, obelisk, all those phallic things having to do with male electricity power. And then you've got magnetism on the other hand, Mary Magdalene, Jesus' companion. And that's what it's talking about. And so with perseverance, one can get there and one can learn and understand what it's all about, so that they don't have to go around in ignorance and accepting and the world the way it is, with all its fictions and its wars and its programs of taxation and things like that. We can get out of this vicious cycle, and we can do it by consciousness. It's quite easy. Just be conscious and aware.
It's similar in a way to, let's say, for example, going to university and getting a degree, or going to a tech and actually learning a skill. Like, for example, if you go to university, you'll spend 3 years there, get yourself 10 grand in debt, and you'll come out with a degree in philosophy, for example. How many people out there are looking to, hire philosophers? Nobody. So you just got yourself into massive debt, and you came out with a skill which nobody wants, which you can't use. And then you go into a similar tech, perhaps next door or whatever, and you learn carpentry and house building, that kind of thing, as opposed to learning architecture, but you actually learn how to put the house together rather than design it. And when you come out of that, you've got a little bit of debt, but all of a sudden you've got a job straight away, because you can do something with what you learned. And this is the difference between, with a lot of truthers, basically, they'll learn a whole lot of things which basically have no practical benefit. Like you can't. Well, some people, for example, let's say we talk about alternative energy. Okay, learning about alternative energy devices and how to make them, then replicating them, that's a skill that you can learn and then apply. learning about, let's say, the esoteric or theology or things that perhaps you specialize, Santos, you can't build something specifically, as a direct result of that skill set. It's more of an esoteric benefit inside your head rather than something that is going to help you physically through life. It helps you spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually, the same way that a philosophy degree will not help you get a job, but it will help you understand the fact that you don't have a job a little bit better.
Exactly. Yeah, done well. And look, in our institutions, they've been taken over by the controllers too, because originally the institutions, the schools and the temples of learning, they taught people holistically and syncretically. So they had a comprehensive worldview, they had a comprehensive understanding of all the sciences because they are all one, and they were taught in a syncretic way. Now, my videos deal with this subject, syncretism. Yeah, what I'm doing is giving people the comprehensive view and then syncretizing it, showing it how it's all one, how it all connects. Everything is interrelated. And this is why our educational institutions are so in error when they teach young people, to specialize in only one thing and get your degree in that, or two things, and off you go into the big bad world. Well, they're unequipped. First of all, I mean, what about the spiritual and emotional education that they need in order to advance as a human being and raise the level of enlightenment and consciousness? Man, the schools don't deal with that at all. They just deal with intellectual, academic stuff and learning and remembering and drilling.
Now, we had a question in the chat room for you. They wanted an update on Kate of Gaia. I don't know what that means, but you probably do.
Yeah, Kate of Gaia is one of the foremost people in Canada for enlightenment about dominion and sovereignty. She is currently in jail awaiting a hearing tomorrow, I believe, the 20th of March. Yes, in the morning. In America, it'll be tomorrow, of course. And well, it's a bit complicated as to the situation, but it's the banks that are basically behind all of this, in that the Bank of Montreal claims that the house is still theirs, and Kate was in the property and returned to the property after she was forcefully removed, and therefore they are going to go with trespassing, I guess. But they're dealing with Kate of Gaia here, and they're dealing with an awakened community, and this is the banks who use the uniformed clown suits to do their bidding. And it's all work that's being done for the Vatican. This is how ignorant humanity has become. They don't realize that the Vatican and Rome and the Guelphs and the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, the Windsor family, and all of these big money families have just got everything in their hands, and they control the lot. This is how ignorant people are. They think they live in a free world, and they don't see that at all.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious, I've just have conversations with people and they go, yeah, but I'm free, it doesn't affect me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. It just cracks me up so uncontrollably that I just can't help it, people who think that they're free is a joke.
Yep. That's a big joke.
Yeah, and the elite laugh at us, the people who think we're free. They literally, it is a source of amusement. Our suffering, our ignorance, and our willingness to devote ourselves to lies and live our lives by those lies, believing that they're true, is part of the sick joke that the elite tell themselves. You ever walk into a pub or anything like that and somebody's telling a joke about this person and this person and this person walked into a bar or whatever? It's the same kind of thing. This is how they amuse themselves, by watching everybody else suffer and die due to the lies that they placed in front of them. You know, they think it's funny. And I don't. You know, I like to make jokes about things that actually are funny, or rather, you know, jokes about things that are really not funny, just so that you can help yourself deal with them to a degree. But we've come to the end of the line here, Santos, and just like on the movie 2012, I wish we had more time, but we don't.
There it is. It's all over.
Yeah. It's all over. We're going to have a tidal wave of inflation, of course, going to wash down over us. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in with us. And we had quite a raft of pretty spectacular callers today, didn't we, Santo?
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome, bro. UniversalTruthSchool.com is where you can find Santo, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's anything else you want to say, Santo, go ahead.
Well, you're going to be joining me for my show this week, so look out for that.
Oh yeah, it's at the end of this week, I think. Is it on a Saturday in the United States? Forget what time it is, but
Sunday morning for us.
Sunday morning for us, Saturday in the States. Yep. And I'll be joining Santo for a good 2 hours on his show. So tune in then, ladies and gentlemen, at AmericanFreedomRadio.com, and you can check out the archives to this show at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com as well. Catch you later, ladies and gentlemen.